Welcome back to Decode Tech. This week's video is on how to install Python on macOS, and more specifically Python 3. So in the video on what is programming, I said programming is just text and you need either a compiler or an interpreter to convert that text into machine code. So what we're going to be doing essentially today is installing an interpreter to send our Python text files or source code files through the interpreter to run our code. I'm going to be showing you step by step how to install it and how to run a first simple program. Not really showing you how to program necessarily, but just how to make sure you know it's running properly. And then as we progress in this programming series, you'll learn more and more how to use it and learn how to create some pretty cool things for your own use and maybe even get a job eventually in it. And there can be some pretty high paying jobs around the programming industry. And there's more and more jobs coming out all the time as more and more things become computer generated or computer operated, and so the demand for programmers is becoming pretty high at this point. So if you're ready, let's get into the video. Alright, so to install Python 3 we have to install the interpreter. So what we can do is we can go to Safari or any web browser really and go to python.org, and you can hit enter. And then you can go under downloads. Now there's a recommended download of Python 3.7.3. That's the latest version at this time of the video. It could be a later version if you're watching this later. You could also just click on downloads and it will give you a lot of choices to download either Python 2.7, which is considered more the legacy version of Python. They're going to be phasing it out. Or even just other versions of Python 3, whether you want 64-bit or 32-bit. On my setup for Python on Windows, somebody asked why I didn't install 64-bit. It's because when I was learning to program, some people online recommended staying with 32-bit because there wasn't, some of the Python modules weren't ready for 64-bit compatibility yet. So it's up to you which one you want to install. The code is the same, it's just you have, you can't access more than 4 gigabytes of memory on a 32-bit install of Python. So keep that in mind. But you will be able to follow along with all these tutorials in this series on either version. So I'm just going to click the recommended Python 3.7.3 and a download should install. And if you just give it a little bit, I might skip ahead till mine's done, but you just give yours a little bit to install and then we'll move on from there. Okay, once it's done, you can open up your downloads and open up the Python package I've installed. And here you come to the installation wizard. You can just hit continue, and then you can hit continue again, and then you can hit continue again, and then it says to continue installing the software you must agree to the terms of the software, so you hit agree. And then you can also see where it's going to perform a standard installation. It's going to be on the Macintosh hard drive. And now it says installer is trying to install new software. Either use password or use Touch ID, and so I'm just going to use password, and I'm going to type in my password. Of course your password will be different, and hit install software. Now it's going to write a bunch of files, and I'm not sure how long this will take. I might skip ahead for the sake of not wasting your time in this video. Alright, and mine finished and brought me right to a Python 3.7 folder. And here if you go back to the installation wizard, it says it installed successfully. And you can hit close here. And it says, do you want to move the Python installer to the trash? You can feel free to move it to the trash, you no longer need it. So now I'm going to exit out of this and exit out of Safari. And now remember I said code is just text. So pretty much any text editor should be able to run code. But first of all, let's test our Python installation by opening up the program called Terminal. So if you don't know where Terminal is, you can just click on your spotlight, little magnifying glass in the top right corner, and type in Terminal. And I can hit enter, and I'll bring up my terminal. Okay, I might up the text size just a little bit so y'all can see better. Okay, so we're in the terminal. Now to test the Python installed, you can type in Python. And if you hit enter, you see Python 2.7.10 pops up. Now, Python 2 comes by default on the Mac, but it's a system install and it's not recommended to use for a lot of your own programming. And also Python 3 is the future, so we're going to use Python 3. So I'm just going to type exit to get out of here. And so how you can test if Python 3 installed correctly is you can type Python 3. And now if you see Python 3.7 pop up, you're good to go. So now we know we can write a program, so I'm just going to type in exit again. And now I'm going to type in clear just to clear the terminal. Now let's write our first script or program. So to do that, we just need a basic text editor, and Mac comes with a program called TextEdit. So if you don't know where that is, you can hit your Spotlight search again and type in TextEdit. Now by default, TextEdit wants to do rich text documents, and it kind of conflicts with trying to save Python files. So I'm going to go under my TextEdit preferences, and I'm going to change it from rich text to plain text and just hit the X. Then I'm going to hit new document. Now I'm going to type our first line of code, and it's going to be print open parentheses, quotation mark, hello world, quotation mark, close parentheses. And I'm also going to go back and change the P in print to lowercase. It automatically capitalized that on me. Now, I'm not going to get into what exactly is happening here. I just want to get this code to run so that we know Python is installed correctly. And basically what this program does is prints out whatever phrase you put between the quotation marks. So in this case, it'll print out hello world. It's been kind of tradition in programming when you learn a programming language to start off by writing a program that prints out hello world. So let's save this. So we're going to go under File, Save, and now you can choose where to save it. Here it says saving to documents. I'm going to save it to my desktop instead, and I'm going to name it hello.py for Python file. And now this is going to tell the computer, the .py is going to tell the computer that this is a Python file. So I'm going to hit save. And you need to realize where you save the file. So your file path is very important. And if you don't know what a file path is, I don't have my Mac Basic series done yet, but in my Windows Basic series, I talk about how to organize your files. And in that, I talk about what a path is. And basically, it's the location on your hard drive where your file is stored. Now, the path between Mac and Windows looks a little different. But basically, if you can Google how to find your Mac path, or something like that, just know where you saved it. Maybe the desktop would be a safe place to start. So I'm going to exit out of this now that we saved it, and I saved it to my desktop. So now go back to your terminal, and you want to be at your desktop. So I'll show you the path a little bit. So now if you type pwd, that'll tell us where we are now. We're at users decode tech, but I want to get into desktop, so I'm going to type ls, which means list, and I see I can now access desktop, downloads, movies, and all kinds of user-based folders that I have. And so I'm going to cd, which means change directory, into the desktop. Now that I'm in the desktop, I'm going to type in the Python interpreter, which remember was Python 3, space the name of the Python file I want to run in this directory, which we know is hello.py. And if you see over in the right-hand corner, you actually see my hello.py script on my desktop. So now if I run this, it's like saying, okay, send the hello.py file through the Python 3 interpreter. When you hit enter, you should see hello world print out to the screen. If you didn't get this, you can write down in the comments below and maybe I can help you get it to work. But if you type in exactly what I typed in, you should get this output. This means your Python interpreter is installed and working correctly. And so now you might be like, okay, so what is this? We got text in the terminal here. I'm used to seeing a GUI, like a window with buttons and all kinds of entries and drop-down list boxes and all kinds of stuff like that. Well, to learn the fundamentals of programming, you need to, first of all, learn how to write CLI or command line programs, and then a GUI program is a whole other situation, and we'll learn about GUI programming later. But for now, to learn the basics, we're going to stick with command line programs. And it's really what happens behind the scenes with GUIs. The GUI is just a nice way for users to interact with your program. And if you keep following along, we're going to learn more and more how to put these programs together and make useful things happen. Alright, so that's how we write our first program. Now, writing in TextEdit is not very practical for programming. You can do it, I just want to prove that it is just text files. but Python comes with a built-in text editor that is a little bit more fancy and has some more nice features, and I'll show you what that is. And the name of that one is called idle. I'm just going to type clear to clear my terminal, and you could either use the spotlight search like we did before, or you can just type idle 3 in your terminal and hit enter. And now you'll see this little shell pops up, and it's an interactive shell. I'm going to make the text bigger so that y'all can see a little bit better. I'm going to move it up to, let's move it up to like size 14 font. And I'll hit the X, I'll exit out, and let's run idle 3 again. And okay, so here you can write interactive commands. It's just like a little shell prompt. We could do the same thing we did before with print hello world. And we could hit enter and it'll run right away. But this isn't actually a program or code file run. It's just an interactive way to do it. And you can also do this in the command prompt by simply typing in Python 3. And I'll show you how to do that. I'm just going to close out of that. I'm going to type in Python 3. And it gives you the same little prompt right here. And that's really nice for just playing around, learning the language, and testing out different code. But now if I go back into idle, we'll show how to create an actual Python file. Now if you just typed in idle, that would be for Python 2, but notice I did idle 3 here for Python 3. So now this is the interactive shell. Now we can do Python and new file, and this is now an actual text editor that you can write programs. And now if I do the print hello world, notice all the fancy highlighting, and this lets us know what needs to be corrected in our code. For example, there's some like keywords and stuff in Python and different commands, and this highlighting is really useful to help us not make just little small errors that you couldn't catch if all your text was just black. So anyway, this is the same exact thing we did before. You can go up and you can go File, Save, and let's save it as hello.py again, and let's save it to the desktop. Now it's going to overwrite my file before, but that's fine because it's the exact same program. So I'm just going to hit replace just to prove this does the exact same thing we did before. I'm going to go back to the shell, I'm going to hit clear, and you can see I'm already in my desktop, so I don't have to change directory. And I'm just going to say Python 3 again to call the interpreter, space the name of the file I want to run, hello.py. And once again, I get hello world. Now you can also go back to idle and go File, Open, and open that file we created. And instead of running from the terminal every time, you can now go up to Run and hit Run Module. And you'll see it'll bring back up the interactive shell and print out the results here. And every time it says restart, that's when you ran a new program. So if I go back here and I run again, you'll get another restart and the output hello world again. So that was how to install Python on a Mac and get it running, and so now you're set to go for the rest of this programming series. And I hope you enjoyed it. Please give it a thumbs up if you found it informative. Please subscribe if you're not already and you enjoy this type of thing. Maybe share the video with somebody else that has interest in this type of thing. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I'd be glad to try to help you out, or maybe somebody else that knows more about it can help you out. And hopefully we'll see you all in the next video.